Have you ever caught yourself stuck in a cycle of negative self-talk, where nothing you do ever seems good enough? You could be nailing a project, making progress in your career, or even just trying to enjoy life. But that little voice in your head, the one that criticizes, doubts, and judges, keeps holding you back. If that sounds familiar, let me tell you, you're not alone. The good news is that this doesn't have to be your story. In fact, overcoming that voice of self-criticism could be the key to unlocking the kind of confidence and self-worth you've always wanted. Stick around, because today, I'm sharing 5 powerful ways to silence that inner critic and boost your confidence, so you can stop holding yourself back and start living the life you deserve. Self-criticism is something we all struggle with at different points in our lives. Whether it's about our work, our appearance, or the choices we've made, that critical voice can often feel louder than anything else. But here's the reality. Self-criticism is a learned behavior. It's not something we're born with, and it's definitely something we can change. The trick lies in recognizing the patterns of that critical voice and learning how to respond to it in healthier, more constructive ways. And why should you care? Because constant self-criticism doesn't just chip away at your confidence, it also affects your mental health, your relationships, and your overall happiness. So let's dive into how you can break free from that cycle and start living a more confident, self-compassionate life. Let's start with one of the most effective tools for silencing self-criticism: reframing your inner dialogue. Most of us don't realize how harsh we are on ourselves. If you actually took the time to listen to the thoughts running through your head, you'd be surprised. It's like having a personal critic sitting in your brain, constantly pointing out everything you're doing wrong. But here's the thing, that critic isn't telling the truth. It's just a collection of old beliefs, fears, and insecurities. So how do you reframe? Start by catching yourself in the act. The next time you think, "I'm such a failure," or "I can't do anything right," pause. Ask yourself, is this really true? What evidence do I have to support this thought? Most of the time, you'll find that your inner critic is being dramatic. Instead of saying, "I always mess things up," try something more balanced, like, "I'm learning and improving every day." Remember, your words have power. What you say to yourself affects how you feel and how you act. By changing the narrative in your head, you can start to build a more positive, supportive mindset that fuels your confidence rather than drains it. Next up is practicing self-compassion. And trust me, this one is a game changer. Self-compassion means treating yourself with the same kindness and understanding that you would offer a close friend. Now, I know this can sound cheesy or even a bit fluffy, but it's backed by science. Studies from Dr. Kristen Neff, a leading researcher in this field, show that people who practice self-compassion are not only less anxious and stressed, but also more confident and resilient. Why? Because when you're kind to yourself, you stop tearing yourself down and start building yourself up. Let's get practical. When you're feeling down or when that inner critic is yelling in your ear, pause and ask yourself, what would I say to a friend in this situation? Chances are you'd be compassionate, supportive, and encouraging. You wouldn't say, "You're a failure, you'll never get this right." So why say that to yourself? A really powerful exercise is to write a letter to yourself from the perspective of someone who loves and supports you. Imagine a close friend or family member who always has your back. Write down what they'd say to you if they knew how hard you were being on yourself. Keep this letter handy and refer back to it whenever your inner critic shows up. It's a great way to counter those negative thoughts and remind yourself that you are deserving of kindness, even from yourself. Perfectionism is often at the root of self-criticism. We set these impossible standards for ourselves, and when we don't meet them, we spiral into self-doubt and criticism. The irony? Perfectionism doesn't make us better, it paralyzes us. It stops us from taking risks, trying new things, and growing. And here's a hard truth. Perfection doesn't exist. No one, absolutely no one, gets everything right all the time. So how do you challenge perfectionism? First, start by adjusting your expectations. Instead of aiming for perfection, aim for progress. Understand that mistakes and failures are a part of the process. In fact, they're essential for growth. Think about it. The most successful people in the world didn't get there by avoiding failure. They embraced it, learned from it, and kept moving forward. One way to break free from perfectionism is to set good enough goals. If you're working on a project, instead of aiming for it to be perfect, Set the bar at a level where you're satisfied and can move on. Progress is better than perfection. By letting go of the need to be flawless, you'll find that your confidence grows because you're no longer trapped in a cycle of unrealistic expectations and constant self-judgment. Now I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and let me know. In what area of your life does your inner critic show up the most? Is it in your work, your relationships, or maybe in your personal goals? Let's get the conversation started because talking about it is the first step to overcoming it. Our brains are naturally wired to focus on the negatives. It's called the negativity bias, and it's what makes us dwell on our weaknesses instead of celebrating our strengths. But here's the thing. When we constantly focus on what we're lacking, we miss out on everything we're already good at. So, one of the most effective ways to overcome self-criticism is to shift your focus to your strengths. Here's a practical tip. Keep a strength journal. Every day, write down at least one thing you did well, no matter how small it seems. Maybe you had a productive meeting, maybe you helped a friend, or maybe you just got through a tough day. The more you focus on your strengths, the more you'll start to see them, and this will naturally boost your confidence. A great example of this is how athletes prepare for competitions. They don't just focus on where they need to improve. They also spend time reinforcing their strengths, so they go into competition feeling capable and ready. You can do the same in your life. Build yourself up by focusing on what you're already doing well, and watch how your confidence grows. Finally, let's talk about action. One of the biggest reasons we stay stuck in self-criticism is fear. We're afraid of failing, afraid of rejection, afraid of not being good enough, so we don't take action. But here's the truth. The only way to build confidence is by doing. Action is the antidote to fear. Let's break it down. Think about something you've been holding back on because of fear or self-doubt. Maybe it's asking for a raise at work, maybe it's starting a new hobby, or maybe it's putting yourself out there in social situations. Whatever it is, challenge yourself to take one small step toward it. When you act, even if you're scared, you prove to yourself that you are capable. And with each step, your confidence builds. One thing to remember is that confidence doesn't come from knowing you'll succeed. It comes from knowing you'll be okay even if you don't. By taking action despite your fear, you teach yourself that failure isn't the end of the world, and that's where real confidence is born. I hope these tips have inspired you to take control of your inner critic and start building the confidence you deserve. Remember, self-criticism doesn't have to run your life. By reframing your thoughts, practicing self-compassion, letting go of perfectionism, focusing on your strengths, and taking action despite fear, you can transform how you see yourself and the world. If you found this video helpful, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more content on self-development and confidence building. And don't forget to turn on the notifications so you never miss a video. We're all on this journey together, and I'm here to help you every step of the way. Thanks for watching, and remember, you are stronger than your inner critic, so keep moving forward with confidence. And until next time, keep believing in yourself. You've got this.